Hey, how you doing? Welcome to SBR Forum videos. This is the Pete's Parlay Show for college football, Week 15. I'm Peter Loshak, and we're also going to do the NFL Parlay, of course, Week 14. And, I've had a couple losing weeks in a row, but don't forget, these are parlays, high volatility. So overall, I'm still significantly up for the year. I'm still up $590, and each parlay, of course, just risks $100. Still, it's been a while since I've had a winner, so I'm hoping to get one this week. All right, Week 15. Not that many games, a lot of interesting information that I've gotten, a lot of picks that I consider, a lot of interesting line moves, and in the end, I just decided on 4 that I'm going to include in the parlay. A lot almost made it, and again, a lot had some interesting insights from the professional handicappers this week, and also from Brent from BetDSI. All right, so let's get into it. Let's see. First of all, the sharp sides that, let's start with the games that I covered with Troy, right? Troy West from allplayswin.com. First of all, we covered Stanford, Arizona State, and we both agreed that the under 56 was the side that we liked. And I agreed with that. I almost put it in the parlay, but not really. I think the edge is solid. I think the edge is there, but not quite big enough for me to want to put it. I could easily see this one, getting like a backdoor over, going to, looking like it's going to go under most of the game, and then it goes to 59 on the last, few minutes, the last quarter. So I do think, I agree with Troy. I think that the under 56 is a decent play, but I'm not going to put it in. Troy also said that he liked the over in Duke, Florida State. I definitely like that one myself. There is some reports of, the weather this weekend might be a little bit iffy, so I'm going to hold off on betting that myself until I see what the weather really is. But, yeah, assuming that there's no weather issues, definitely like over 62, but not quite going to put it in the parlay. Then with Joe Duffy, I previewed a whole bunch of games. He liked the under in Missouri-Auburn, he liked the under in Ohio State-Michigan State. We agreed on Texas plus 14.5, and that is one that I am going to include. I'll get into that in a second. We also previewed Memphis and UConn. We both said we liked UConn at Pick'em. I almost included that in the parlay, but it's taken some interesting movement. It's now up to Memphis -1 or -1.5. And I'm not exactly sure what caused that movement. I could easily see this one coming back the other way, closer to kickoff and closing it, UConn -2 or something like that. But, Memphis, reading the reports on their team, they are still, looking to get a win here. And they did play, Louisville very tight recently. So, maybe they just had a one-game sort of lapse in their last one against Temple. They obviously have some sort of back class, at least relative to UConn. So I still like UConn, but I'm not going to put it in the parlay. And then Joe Duffy also liked Utah State at +3. And I talked to Brent from BetDSI. He said the Sharps also came in on Utah State at +3. I'd include it if it was like +6 at +3. Little too close for comfort. And then also, me and Joe previewed South Florida, Rutgers, and I bet that one when it was 7, and then also at 6. Now it's all the way down to 4. Joe said that he still liked it at South Florida +4. I agree with that. Rutgers is playing for bowl eligibility, though, so you never know what's going to happen. I just don't like to, put something in a parlay that's so off of the opening number. It's probably still some value at 4. I agree with Joe, but I'm not going to include it in the parlay. And then Steve from collegefootballwinning.com gave a great reason for liking South Alabama -3. Basically, Louisiana Lafayette doesn't have their starting quarterback for this game, and they're going to be using a replacement who, we don't know exactly what we're going to get with him. He played okay in his last game. South Alabama, a pretty lively team right now for the Sun Belt. So I almost included South Alabama -3. I am going to include the under in that one, and I'll get to that one in a second. And then I previewed Marshall Rice with Brandon Shively, and we both agreed in that preview that we thought that Rice should not necessarily be a home dog here, +5, but the line has now obviously moved way up to 6.5 or 7. And I talked to Brent from BetDSI, and that was all caused by sharp action. And if you watch the DSI call this week, you'll see that the Sharps took everything. They took Marshall -5, they took Marshall on the money line. They took Marshall first half. They took Marshall on the first half money line. So obviously, someone very sharp is loading up on Marshall. That's what's driving the number up. So me and Brandon Shively are probably wrong on Rice. Definitely not going to put it in the parlay. And then Tony George recommended Oklahoma +9.5. And, what can I say? I agree with that as well. But I did talk to Brent from BetDSI, and he said that he got some sharp action on Oklahoma +10.5, but he got more sharp action on Oklahoma State when it came back at -9.5. So, that sharp action is probably right. I'd personally still go with Oklahoma, but needless to say, no way I'm going to include it in the parlay. All right, so let's get to the sharp action that Brent told me about. He said that he got sharp action on both Ohio State -5 and Michigan State +5.5, so obviously throwing that game out. And he also said that he took sharp action on Missouri +2 over Auburn. And if you saw my preview of that game with Joe Duffy, I said I like Missouri as well. So even though Missouri is now -1, and again, that is driven by sharp action, that is one team that I'm going to include in the parlay. -1, -110, that's a current line at BetDSI. So, the Sharps took it at +2. I liked it at +2. I bet it, at +2. Now it's -1. Is there still value there? Probably, and that's going to be the first pick in the parlay. Then also Brent told me Sharps game on the under at Oklahoma State. That makes sense to me. And then he also told me that the Sharps came in on the under in the South Alabama game. They took it at 59.5. Right now it's 58 at BetDSI, and that is the second game that I'm going to include in the parlay. Under 58 in the South Alabama game. Again, Louisiana Lafayette's old starting quarterback is not going to be playing here. There's probably going to be some questionable weather for this game. And if the Sharps like I was leaning under. If the Sharps liked it, I'm willing to include it in the parlay at under 58. So that's going to be the second play in the parlay. Told you all about the Marshall stuff. That kind of shocked me and definitely put me off of Rice. Utah State and Texas Baylor under 73 was a sharp side, and I almost included that myself. Now it's down to 71 though at BetDSI. All right, so the four picks that I'm going to include in the parlay is South Alabama under, Missouri -1. Then I'm also going to include Texas +16. Previewed the game with Joe Duffy. We both like Texas at +14.5. Now it's up to 16. Why is that happening? I'm not exactly sure. But, who knows with this line. It might close back down at +13.5. Not exactly sure what's caused that line movement. But, it's interesting that Brent didn't tell me that that was caused by sharp action. It could easily be public action on Baylor causing that line movement. So, he didn't tell me about sharp action either way on that game. I'm willing to stick with it. Texas +16 is the third pick in the parlay. And then I'm going to include the under 58 in UCF SMU. SMU is their starting quarterback is going to be out. Their last game, they scored nothing against Houston. UCF generally has a pretty good defense, a pretty efficient offense. 58's a pretty high total. Again, there should be some iffy weather for this game as well. So I think that SMU's offense will probably stall a bit. UCF probably plays an efficient game, and I think it's more likely than not to go under 58. So those are the four picks. Texas +16, South Alabama under 58, Missouri -1, and SMU under 58. Those are all current lines at BetDSI -110. And I'm going to do a 3 and 4 team round robin, a $20 base. So that's $100 to win $722.30. And if just 3 of them win, the parlay will still break even. It wins $40. That's a 4-teamer. With 3s and 4s, $20 base. And that's my Pete's Premium Parlay for college football week 15.